Glenn Clark Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
The Retriever faithful coming to their feet. The historic season will continue for the UMBC Retrievers, dancing on to March Madness for the third time in program history.
America East champs for the first time since 2018. When, of course, we know what happened after that. UMBC, congratulations to the Retrievers. Very happy for them as they claim the America East title, and with it, a trip to the NCAA Tournament. Now we'll talk in a second about the circumstances surrounding that, but awesome moment. That's courtesy of ESPN2. As UMBC on a special day, sold out over at Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. They got to cut down the nets. What a day for DJ Armstrong. A special moment that I know everybody was really fired up, and just the atmosphere was insane. So awesome stuff. Congratulations to UMBC. All right, it is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That would make me Glenn, and normally I'd say that would make him Griffin, but we switched out one Gurr for another Gurr.
Rant.
Filling the Gr hole today is Grant DeVivo.
I never thought of it that way. I like that.
Yeah, we have a specific rule around here that we only allow the other person, the person sitting in that chair, to have a name that starts with GR. It's just a very, I don't know why. I mean, it would seem like we're really disqualifying an awful lot of potentially very good people, but that's our rule. The rule is you got to be a Gr or a Gr or a whatever you want to call it. And so Grant, fortunately, is one of those. And yes, we do also have a policy on the show. Everyone involved must have a name that starts with G. Sorry, dude. We're just a couple of G's over here. That's the way that it works.
That happened the last time. We talked about that the last time I was here, I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's the rule. That is the rule.
Fair rule. I like it.
Grant will be here with us all week, as Griffin is. I don't know. Oh, right. He said he was going to Disney. That's what he said. He's going to Disney.
Going to Disney
week.
World.
So hopefully he's enjoying himself down there. I think it's his sister's birthday or something like that. So hopefully he's having a lovely time, and we will see him next week. In the meantime, coming up today, we will talk NCAA tournament brackets and UMBC's return trip to the tournament, when our friend Patrick Stevens at Discourse, of course, joins us a little bit later on. Normally a little bit later on in the week, but with UMBC having to play tomorrow night, we wanted to make sure we did that beforehand. And then later in the program, our friend Dan Wilcox, former Ravens tight end, We Bleed Purple podcast, we will get his thoughts on how the first week of free agency played out. I know everybody was, for the week, it was like it was still overwhelming, the Max Crosby discourse, that I kind of want to shift from that to where the Ravens actually are. So we'll do that with Dan Wilcox coming up a little bit later on in the program. Today's show is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. The mania is upon us. And if you are planning on playing hooky on Thursday or Friday of this week, Come on, man. What are you doing? There is no better place to watch all of the games than Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Great food and drink specials, the 100-foot media wall, all of the games. You don't have to miss any of them. Incredible atmosphere. They'll be flipping in between the games. If one's closer, they'll be going to that one on the big screen, but you'll still be able to watch the other games. Just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook, and as if all of that wasn't enough, they will be doing interactive contests, and they will be giving away great prizes during all of the games. No better place to be than Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, so make sure you make your plans, and if you're going, I would suggest right now that you go ahead and book your table, book your reclining chairs, because they will be filled up by the time you get there on Thursday. And the number of times somebody walks by like, oh, man, I wanted to sit there. No, man, you got to make sure you're on your game for that. So I would go ahead and do that right now. The UMBC conversation. And, yes, I know, like so many of you, when Maryland is not very good, it does tend to dampen the overall excitement about college basketball in this region. And that doesn't, I don't say that, I don't want to take anything away at all from what UMBC did, because that is awesome. But the overall college basketball excitement, I honestly will compare it to years where the Orioles are good versus years where the Orioles aren't very good. When the Orioles in 2023 and 2024 are competing and you have a genuine belief that they can make a deep run in the playoffs, you're just a little bit more in tune with baseball. You're watching all of the games. As you're watching all of the games, you're seeing other teams and you're aware of them. And then maybe you're tracking things in the standings. And so there's a game that's relevant to the standings. You might take a look at that as well. When the Orioles aren't very good, as a region, we tend to be a little bit less associated with baseball on the whole. Just a bit less overall interest in baseball in general. We're just watching maybe not every Orioles game the way that we usually do. We might be more inclined to say, like, when the Orioles are good, you can be at the beach and you will find a way to get your phone out on the beach so you can watch the game while you're getting sand in all of your crevices and the sun's trying to murder you. When the Orioles aren't very good, you're like, maybe I'll... This lady that's with me, she says she's my wife. Maybe I'll hang out and talk to her. It's the nature of it. And there's something similar to that comes along with college basketball. When Maryland is very good, or at least good, this year they weren't even watchable, you're watching the games. And as you're watching the games, you're watching more of other teams. Then you're starting to think about, like, hey, how does this team compare to another team? When they're not very good, it tends to put a dampening on the entirety of watching college basketball. So I heard from a lot of people in the course of the last week that said, hey, man, I don't know anything about it. And we are still doing our charity bracket contest, and we need you to fill it up. And I would say we've had a tepid response so far, and I think that directly correlates with the fact that Maryland's not very good. A year ago, before we knew that the coach was about to quit, there was a lot more excitement. There was a lot more, hey, man, can I get in your bracket contest? Want to be in? Don't get that quite as much. But we're doing it. And as I said before, I reserve the right to shut the whole show down until you fill it up. Tomorrow it might be nothing but me just sitting here and saying nothing. So fill up the damn bracket contest. $20 buy-in, half to the winner, half to charity. Show your soft side. They do amazing work for animals in our community. Incredible work. ShowYourSoftSide.org. Find out more about what they do and get in by sending $20 to @GlennClarkRadio on Cash App, GlennClark180 on Venmo, GlennClark180 on PayPal, or Glenn-Clark on Venmo. I got to get all that straight. Glenn Clark Radio on Cash App, GlennClark180 on PayPal, Glenn-Clark on Venmo. Send $20. If you don't get an immediate response from me, then email me, GlennClarkRadio@gmail.com. I'll hit you back with the link. You'll be in. You could be the winner, and we'll all be winners because a wonderful charity will be taken care of in the process. So, thumbs up all around. But fill the friggin' bracket contest before I have to start calling some of you out by name. And I'll do it. Trust me, I'm happy to. So go ahead and get that thing filled. Say all that to say that I understand that there's maybe a little bit less interest in Duke or Arizona or Michigan or Iowa State or, Florida or UConn, whatever it is, Houston. I'll separate that, and we'll talk more about it with Patrick. The UMBC part of the conversation rules. This is a team that expectations were lower for, that just got on an absolutely red-hot streak as the season went on, 112 straight, were demolishing teams down the stretch, handled the pressure of being the host, got punched in the mouth, fell behind late on Saturday in the title game, and in particular, thanks to DJ Armstrong, rolled to the league title. The UMBC part is awesome. And unfortunately, I know Drew's Morning Dish wrote about the first four concept today. It's very difficult because based on the way the rules work, four of those teams are going to have to play. Four teams that won their league have to go play in Dayton. They put 68 teams in the tournament. That's the way that it goes. I probably join those whose opinions are that Dayton should be for the last 8 teams that are in the tournament, the last 8 at-larges. And that might not be a popular opinion with the college basketball and the powers that be. I think there's a lot of us that share that opinion, that the idea of the tournament is rewarding a team for winning their league. Other people that are in college basketball say you want to reward the better teams. It's just weird that we do this half and half. It's very odd the way that they go about doing it. I know that some of the schools would tell you that it's kind of a blessing for them. For the school, for the conference, they have the opportunity to go get an NCAA tournament win and the share economically that comes along with that. And that can be a very big deal for the school. That can be a very big deal for the conference. I recognize all of those things. There are people at UMBC that as long as they beat Howard tomorrow night, that's a big win for them, not just the literal win. I don't think it should be that way. I think winning your league should advance you to Thursday or Friday. But that's the way it's set up. The system says UMBC's in the bottom 4, and so they've got to play. And so that's the way it'll go. If they beat Howard tomorrow, they advance on. They take on Michigan on Thursday with the chance to try to make history again. Let's talk a little bit more about how they got here. Let's talk more about what it's going to take in order to keep playing, and we'll talk more tournament in general. This man I know has had a very busy 24 hours. You follow him at Discourse, D1S Course, Ovius and Giglio, as well as Raleigh News Observer, amongst others. Our friend Patrick Stevens is with us once again here on GCR. Patrick, appreciate you, sir. So, I know you did very well, but in the areas where you were off, like seating-wise, was that on you or was that on the committee for screwing it up?
I'll say the one thing that I think might be on the committee is the Vanderbilt issue. It doesn't seem like the Commodores got much credit for beating Florida. and they've got 10 quad 1 wins. And so I thought that they were probably closer to being a 3 seed than a 5 seed. So on that one, I think it's on the committee. On the rest of it, it's probably on me.
Were you surprised that Miami still only managed to make it in by the skin of their teeth, or based on the fact that they didn't beat anybody all year, they should just be happy that they still got in despite losing in the first round of the MAC tournament?
I don't think anybody can claim to be surprised about anything with that particular team. And the reason is like you're trying to forecast what the committee's going to do based on how it's treated similar teams in the past and how they would compare. So how many 31-1 teams with the second worst non-conference strength of schedule in the country with no quad 1 wins have there been? The answer is if it's not 0, it's not much more than 0. So I thought there was a wide range of outcomes for Miami of Ohio. I did think that it would be hard for the committee to leave out a 31-1 team, no matter who they played. So to see them in, sort of the binary in-out question, I thought they'd be in. But beyond that, I thought they could be anywhere from a 9 seed to the last team in the field.
Wow. So
that's kind of how it worked out. I had hedged and split the difference and put them on the 10 line, but truly had no clue what they were going to do with that team.
Does anyone who is left out have any legitimate gripe at all, or as we've discussed, the bottom of the field was so weak this year that if you're complaining, man, it is only on you?
I mean, Oklahoma had a 9-game losing streak. Auburn lost 16 games.
Right.
If we're looking at teams that actually made it, like Texas and SMU both lost 5 of their last 6. Any of those teams, whether they were in or out, no reason to complain. Like, you had your opportunities and you simply didn't take advantage of them.
Yep. No, that's the way that I felt. I didn't think there was any legitimate gripe whatsoever. Patrick,
I do want to interject here, by the way, that in a 76-team field, can you imagine what 8 more teams would be like?
Oh my God! I mean, there's gonna end. You're gonna get to a sub 500 power conference team, right? Like we can't. If we're looking at Auburn, you can't be that far away from there legitimately being a team that was sub 500 that they're going to make an argument for as being the 76 team.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have teams quite like Auburn that come around all that much. I mean, the comparisons for them were the 2 teams that got in at 16 and 14, which were 1991 Villanova and 2001 Georgia, and they both played great schedules, particularly that Georgia team. So, I don't know if you're going to have a team quite like Auburn, but you'll probably have teams that are kind of that mold.
Yeah.
I know I don't believe in basketball there is a specific rule that says you can't select an at-large team with a losing record like there is in lacrosse, which is the other sport. Obviously, I have a pretty good familiarity with the selection process. So, maybe that's something that would have to be written into the rules. I don't think it would be that hard to do it. Like, just you got to finish at least 500 to get in. Right.
You got to win.
It's the least you can. The least you can do.
Do anything at all to prove why you are worthy of being in this event.
It's like the SNL Celebrity Jeopardy. Trebek,
right,
final,
just write a number.
Just write any number.
Right.
Any number at all.
It's a V. Well, it's a Roman numeral 5. There you go. You're in. The UMBC thing, obviously, what a performance on Saturday. They got tested in the second half, and we'll remember what Jarris Lyles did up at Vermont for a long time. I think we're going to remember what DJ Armstrong did for a long time, and maybe not a career guy at UMBC, but boy, did he make his impact in a very short time.
I mean, the 2 buzzer beaters back in November kind of set the tone, right? Yeah. Like the victories over Morgan State and Wagner in the same week, and clearly he had, there's a lot of guys that had good seasons for them. I mean, Jalakai King, who was locked down in that title game, but that just kind of opened up opportunities for Armstrong. And the interesting thing was, from hearing from John Becker after the game, the Vermont coach was like, look, he steps back and he keeps stepping back, and suddenly he's back to 30 feet, and like, what are you going to do? Like, I mean, if he knocks it down, like, you kind of just go, okay. Like, you there's only so much you can do. And, DJ had a very shooters type of line after the game. He goes, I figure that if I can see the rim, it's a good look. And He went 7 of 9 from 3, so I think he had a lot of good looks on Saturday. So 33 points in a conference title game where they really didn't, and Jim Ferry said this after the game, they really didn't play great offense in that game. And a lot of that had to do with Vermont. I mean, those were two, I thought, pretty evenly matched teams of similar character and ability. And, when you look at the difference between the two games that UMBC won and the one that Vermont won, the difference is that UMBC made a few more threes, and the difference is Vermont in its two losses didn't go to the foul line. And so UMBC makes 10 threes, 7 of them by DJ Armstrong, and UMBC shoots 22 of 26 at the foul line. Vermont only gets to the line 10 times. And I got to tell you, that was a pretty physical game.
Yeah.
And I thought that officiating crew did a fantastic job managing it and keeping it super consistent all the way through. I mean, I thought that was a high-level officiated game, in addition to a game that I thought was played really well by both teams really for the first 35 minutes before UMBC pulled away at the end.
Is there Patrick Stevens is with us here on GCR. I know that fans and players, although ironically not the schools themselves, they don't mind the idea of playing in Dayton, are always going to be disappointed about playing in Dayton. Does UMBC have any actual gripe, or based on what they actually did, that this is right?
I mean, I thought they were going to be a 16 seed when I really dug into it. I did not think they would be going to Dayton. I know that the people in Dayton do a great job with that event. And so it's going to feel as much like the NCAA tournament as possible, but it's also not the same as being as part of a quadruple header. And there's all these, fans from 8 different teams buzzing around throughout the day and all that kind of stuff. I mean, in some ways, it's one of those kind of heart-sinking things. You're playing a mid-major from just down the road that you played in the past, and that's no disrespect to Howard. It's actually, there's a really interesting subplot to this game. Last year, Howard had a preseason player of the year in their league, Bryce Harris, and he hurt his foot in a game 2 minutes in at UMBC, didn't play the rest of the season, comes back for a 5th year this year, wins the MEAC Player of the Year, leads the Bison to their 3rd NCAA tournament in 4 years, and here they are playing UMBC again.
That is a good story.
And so you look at it from UMBC's perspective, I think that they were optimistic that they weren't going to have to go to Dayton. I would have had them ahead of LIU for sure, ahead of Howard for sure, just on their overall profile. But part of the problem is that when you really dig into it for them, it's a matter of, what did you do, like, when you did have those opportunities, those higher-end opportunities, and for UMBC being 0-5 in the top 3 quadrants, it got blown out at GW, lost at Vermont, lost by 9 at Georgetown, lost close at Dayton, and got blown out at South Florida, which went on to win its league. I think that probably ultimately hurt them a fair bit. Their average net win is 328, as compared to, for a Queens that made it to the 15 line, 289, for Long Island, 304. I think that probably played a little bit of a difference there. The interesting thing is that, one of the things that we've talked about on the overall picture is the importance of wins above bubble, the WAB. And UMBC was actually in the top 100 of that metric. They were 99th. So kind of curious that might not have mattered quite as much on the 16 line as it did on the 10 and 11 line. So I think UMBC should have had direct entry into the field. At the same time, they can also – I think it's a little easier for their fans to potentially get to Buffalo than it might have been to get to Greenville or to go out to San Diego to play. So – there's pluses and minuses to this, and obviously for the leagues, because of the way the NCAA distributes the tournament money, the America East makes more money if UMBC can win a play-in game. And it's frankly, with all respect, and we know that UMBC has done it before, it is easier to win a play-in game than it is to beat a 1.
That's probably true. That is probably the case. Patrick, that said, what as everybody tunes in tomorrow night, what should they be expecting from Howard, who obviously you've seen a ton? And how difficult of a matchup is this, even in the first 4 before any potential chance at Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough matchup, and Howard had been playing just just some lights-out basketball. It's funny. Both of these teams play a really fun style, but in very different ways. Like UMBC is certainly likes to push the pace, as does Howard to some extent. It's kind of the best way to describe UMBC is it really is a team. Like they share everything on offense. They've committed to defense. Howard kind of plays this joyous brand of ball and is really good at the defensive end. And they have kind of figured things out on offense as the year has gone along. I mentioned Bryce Harris. He's a really important piece. You look at a guy like a Cedric Taylor, who's kind of an undersized 5 at 6'7", 210, but can step out and knock down a three. They've got Cam Gillis, a Lehigh transfer, who has made a really big difference at point guard this year. Alex Cotton, the North Texas transfer who didn't play much, has made 61 threes against D1 opponents. And Osei Okoji, that's a senior that has gone through a bunch of injuries and has made a big difference this season as well. They really rely on that top 5 a lot. They go a little bit deeper, but it's going to be I think that's definitely going to be a team that you're going to see play 7 guys for the most part in that game. And that's not too much different from UMBC, which used 8 in the conference title game the other day against Vermont. I think you're going to see a well-played game above all. I certainly think that could be a really fun way to start the tournament between two teams that have just played a really palatable style throughout this season, and both are obviously playing really, really well. Howard at this point has won 14 of its last 16 games.
Wow, they are both red hot, obviously, coming into this. Patrick, there's very little that's similar DNA-wise about this UMBC team to that team that beat Virginia 8 years ago. I guess other than Zach Seidel is still running the Twitter account. I think that's the list of similarities at this point. If they were to get past, I mean, FDU did that, right? Like they won in the first 4, correct, before they beat Purdue?
They did.
I know it's difficult because it involves more travel and all of that, but I don't know. It's crazy to talk about what would that matchup look like if they got the shot at Michigan.
As much as I have enjoyed watching UMBC, there is great difficulty in facing a team that can go 6'9", 6'9", 7'3" across the board in the front court.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a real problem for UMBC to just deal with that size more than anything else. Yeah. And I seem to recall when we talked in the week leading into that Virginia game 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, that I said something along the lines, and you probably don't have the audio, so you probably can't prove it. But like the way to beat Virginia is you gotta hit some threes and you gotta drive to the basket. And there was like a pathway, and I certainly didn't think they were going to win that game by 18 or 20 or whatever it was. But there was a pathway, and Virginia had an injury issue that maybe we didn't fully appreciate at the time. This is a little harder. There's not an obvious way to go about deconstructing Michigan. They're just really big, and for a team like UMBC that is mid-pack nationally in overall height, according to Ken Palm, but not you don't have a lot of giants out there. You've got Jose Tanchin has played really well at 6'10", and he'd be tested, and Riley Jacobs is a freshman at 6'9", so they have some size. But, man, it's not the same kind of size that Michigan has, with all respect to those two guys who've been super important for them. So I would not be overly bullish about that. But at the same time, if they're in that situation, guess what? They've won an NCAA tournament game just days after winning a conference title game. It would still balance out to be a really, really good week for the Retrievers.
No question about it. And you brought up something that I didn't know, which is this is a particularly good timing from Jim Ferry.
It is really good timing for Jim Ferry, who is in his 5th year and is in a contract year. And so I think that UMBC should have a fair bit of incentive at this point to try to lock up the guy that has helped this team rattle off 12 in a row, has helped this team rattle off 15 out of 16. It's a team that since Christmas now is 18-2. and figured out a way to build a conference title team without a whole lot of money to work with in this era, with a lot of D2 guys. Ace Valentine sticking around was a huge piece, and he made a huge jump. I certainly think if you're UMBC, you need to treat the coach that pulled this off with some respect, and I would hope that he is a guy that's going to be seeing a contract extension coming here in the next few weeks.
A quick thought on Navy. Good for them getting into the NIT.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all that Navy really kind of was hoping for was entry into the field and a shot, basically. So they'll head to Wake Forest for a Wednesday night game. That's a Wake team that has just been kind of weird, and I thought they were going to be better this year, and they went 17-16, and there's some reasons behind it. You know, they've got a guard, Nate Kelmies, that got hurt. Guy to watch for them is Juke Harris, a sophomore who has had a few monster games for them this season. I think about in particular, he dropped I think 37 and 30. It was 38 in a loss at Boston College. Jeez. He dropped 31 in an upset of California. He has had some monster games throughout the year, and that's the guy that their defense is going to be most tested by down in Winston-Salem. The Demon Deacons coming off a split in the ACC tournament where they basically buried Virginia Tech's NCAA tournament hopes before losing to Clemson in the second round.
Two most compelling matchups in the first round.
You know, it's funny because I spent so much time actually reviewing the seeding and whatnot.
I get it.
I haven't really thought very much about it, but if you want a couple games that stand out to me as interesting, I think I'll go bracket by bracket here. In the West, I think Wisconsin High Point could be a really fun offensive game. And just a note, like Villanova, Utah State could be fun too. Kevin Willard, now in his 8th NCAA tournament appearance, the gravitational pull of the 8-9 game gets him there for the 5th time in his 8 tournament appearances, landing in an 8-9 game.
Wow.
Kentucky Santa Clara is kind of interesting. You know, how good is Santa Clara? You know, it's a Kentucky team that's been up and down. So certainly a game to watch there in the Midwest bracket. And I would argue, maybe Texas Tech minus JT Toppin against Akron is an upset possibility as well. Does Nebraska finally win an NCAA tournament game? It's never happened.
Man.
They get Troy in the first round, so that's sort of interesting. Carolina against VCU in a 6-11 game. And then in the East bracket, Louisville, South Florida is kind of interesting. And I'll go ahead and say that 8-9 game between Ohio State and TCU, which are two teams that a month or so ago were really, scrapping to get themselves into the field. Two teams that, frankly, did more than just about anybody that were in that sort of nebulous region to play their way in. They're in an 8-9 game with the winner to face Duke in all likelihood.
And then I always try to do this with you. Any player or two that maybe most of the country is not familiar with, but you should know who they are because you're going to enjoy watching them play this weekend.
Well, does Robbie Avila count from St. Louis?
I mean, I think, but sure. I mean, look, man. The man has a million nicknames. I think that people are aware, but if you're not, perhaps there are some that aren't aware that he ended up at St. Louis. And so, yeah, that's a great one.
Maybe him, Cruz Davis from Hofstra, who's basically a walking bucket. I mean, that's a guy that stands out on that front. And I'll throw out to you the guy who just played yesterday in his conference tournament game, Isaiah Nelson, 6'10", 218 kid from South Florida, conference player of the year, followed Brian Hodgson from Arkansas State to South Florida. And he could be a really interesting, figure in their game against Louisville.
All right, I'm going to give you this one because it's insane, and then we'll decide if we do anything else. It was presented to me that this man actually ended up managing 3 teams, but that's because I believe he was twice an interim manager. So if you get this, we might shut the game down. 3 teams for Pete Mackanin.
Pete Mackanin was the Reds interim manager when they fired Jerry Narin, I believe.
I got to double check on Jerry Narin, but he was definitely with the Reds. It was Jerry Narin. Well done.
Okay. Pete Mackanin was the interim manager and then the permanent manager with the Phillies.
Yes.
After Ryan Sandberg was let go,
yes.
Correct? And so Pete Mackanin had a third other.
This was actually his first. It was in 2005.
In 2005, he was an interim manager?
He was.
Huh.
Now, it was a short stint. It was 26 games.
26 games for Pete Mackanin in 2006. Let me can I get a I need a second to sort of puzzle through this one.
Mm-hmm.
This one's I didn't realize there was a third one. I mean, I knew the other two for sure. There's a temptation. I know it's not the case, but given how many interim managers they've had over the years, the Marlins would be a great answer.
They have had a few interim managers. There's no doubt about that.
But I don't believe he's the answer to this question. Where would he have been?
The Orioles have also had more than their fair share of interim managers.
The Orioles have had their fair share of interim managers. There's no doubt about that. Did he close out a year for Lloyd McClendon with the Pirates?
All right, buddy. I have no idea how you pulled that one out. I have no clue. Lacrosse this week, I assume?
Yeah, still kind of sorting through things. There's not been a whole lot of advanced planning, you know.
I get it.
So this is a spot on the calendar where we're just sort of trying to shift gears today, and maybe kind of take care of some things like basic things. Like maybe I should go to the bank or do some cleaning and stuff like that. So you'll have to excuse me for not quite having a good answer for you there.
Well, if I see you tomorrow night, I'll see you tomorrow night. At Discourse, D1S Course is how you follow them on Blue Sky and Twitter. USA Lacrosse Magazine, OVS and Giglio, Raleigh News and Observer. Always appreciate you, brother. Let's talk again next week. All right.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks, buddy. Patrick Stevens with a Monday after Selection Sunday appearance, which I greatly appreciate because I know how insanely busy he is. And he could name the 3 teams that Pete Mackanin managed, including 2 interim managerial stops.
I had to look the third one up myself.
I can't believe he knew 2 of them.
Yeah.
I can't believe he knew the Reds. I, of course, remember him as the Phillies manager.
That's the only one I remember.
100%. Well done. Well done. All right, when we come back in, speaking of baseball, a fun night. We'll talk about a couple aspects of what happened as Team USA is in to the Are you rooting for Italy? Is that what's going on over there?
I am bandwagoning. Well, I don't know who I'm going to root for if it's US Italy in the championship game, but yeah, I'm bandwagoning right now pretty hard.
All right. We'll talk about what happened down in Miami last night when we come back in. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
This is Stan the Fan. You know we talk all the time about our O's stepping up in the big moments, delivering when it matters most. If you've been injured in a car accident anywhere around Baltimore, that's your big moment, and you need someone who delivers. That's why I'm here to tell you about Warnken Injury Lawyers. They fight for Baltimore families every single day. Insurance companies play games. Warnken plays to win. So call 443-RESULTS. That's 443-RESULTS, or go to warnkenlaw.com. When you need results, it's right there in the number, 443-RESULTS.
Your car is more than just a ride. It's an investment. At Leading Edge Auto Body in Mount Washington, we've spent over 20 years perfecting the art of repair. From high-end imports to your trusted daily driver, we handle all makes and models with elite precision. Our team holds the highest honors in the industry, including ASE Master, iCar Platinum, and specialized aluminum certifications. We make it easy with free towing, pickup, and delivery, because at Leading Edge, customer satisfaction comes first. And remember, with insurance, it's your car and it's your choice. Choose the experts. Leading Edge Auto Body. Quality you can see. Service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg chats with Hall of Famer Cal Ripken Jr. about his life now at the age of 65, his role with the Orioles ownership group, and much more. Also inside, Bill Ordine helps us learn more about new Ravens head coach Jesse Minter. Luke Jackson finds out about new Orioles slugger Pete Alonso from those who have played with him, and we meet college lacrosse players from programs all across the area. PressBox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
March Mania is on at Live Casino. And you can get a front row seat for all the action at Sports and Social. Raise your game with massive wall-to-wall TVs. And raise a cheer with your favorite beers, cocktails, and an all-star menu. Best of all, you could win huge prizes every game. Don't get benched. Book your table at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Here the ninth pitch, turns on it, sends a fly ball to right center field. Gunnar Henderson has tied it up. DeRosa pushes the right button, pushing Gunnar Henderson into the lineup.
Saw in the the man we at one point thought could have been the Orioles' next manager, Albert Pujols, was managing for the DR. Yeah, Gunnar Henderson hits the home run to tie it up after he had. So the if you care about the World Baseball Classic, if you're invested, there was a lot of controversy because Gunnar Henderson has been sort of splitting time with both Bryce Terang and Alex Bregman, and he was not in the lineup for when did they play the quarterfinal? That was on Friday. I think it was on Friday. Yeah, he was
Friday.
not in the lineup on Friday in a must-win game, and he had been hot. And then there were questions: is he going to be in the lineup on Sunday? Well, he had owned Luis Severino in his career, so you better have in the lineup. And then he came up in a big spot early in the game and did not come through, ended up ending the inning. And so instead he made up for it with the home run to tie the game up at 1 apiece, as the Americans would end up going on to win 2-1. Now, a couple of thoughts, and let me sort of lump all of my thoughts in on this topic together. My first thought is good for Gunnar Henderson. I know this is very meaningful for him to be participating in the World Baseball Classic and to be playing for Team USA. So good for Gunnar Henderson that he's not only participating, but he is thriving. That's awesome for him. My second thought is it seems encouraging for the Orioles that Gunnar Henderson has been as productive as he is. It feels like a pretty decent sign that Gunnar will be able to get off to a much quicker start to the season than obviously he did a year ago when he was battling injury and missed spring training and never really seemed to be fully himself as the year went on. As much as I'm not a World Baseball Classic person, I do think that there's reason to feel encouraged that these are signs that good could be coming for Gunnar Henderson and for the Orioles. Thought 3. I don't care if Gunnar Henderson is in the lineup for whoever they play against in the final. I just don't care. This is part of the issue for me with where I am with the World Baseball Classic. It's very much a, look, the U.S. is there, and there's not really, after the UMBC, I'm going to watch the UMBC game tomorrow. That's going to be my priority. When the UMBC game ends, I'll probably flip over to the baseball, like if I had to guess. But it's not priority viewing for me. It's not something that I find myself saying, I have to be invested in the World Baseball Classic. So if Gunnar Henderson plays, cool. If he doesn't, all good, man. You know, I'll still hope that the U.S. wins because that's the country I'm from. Although I don't know what's going on with Grant. Grant's splitting allegiances a little bit.
Yeah,
now, I say this as a man whose family is of Italian heritage. I absolutely root for Italy in the World Cup. All right,
I guess I got to explain myself a little bit, don't I?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
All right, well, my
only the part where you said you'd be confused about who you would root for should Italy face the U.S.
All right, well, it's U.S.
Because I said this
It's U.S.
Like, I root for Italy in the World Cup. But if there is ever a scenario where Italy was playing a meaningful match against the U.S., and I get it, the likelihood of the U.S. playing a meaningful match in the World Cup is, I mean, like, I get they can get into the knockout round, but like there is no confusion. I'm rooting for the U.S. You seem to be a bit confused.
I'll root for the U.S.
Right.
in the championship game. I'm only saying this because my dad's family's Italian descent. I like this team.
It's so funny you say that. My father's family is of Italian descent, but by this point, the percentage that I actually am Italian is I don't even know what it is at this point. It's not a ton. It ain't. I think I actually could do this math. I believe his grandparents. So what is it? If they were 100%, then my grandparents were 50, 25. I'm like 12.5% Italian.
Well, then I'm less than you. I wasn't even born in the country, so I'm probably way less than that.
Well, I wasn't born. What do you mean you weren't born?
I'm adopted.
Right, but I thought you meant you weren't born in Italy. I was like, I wasn't born in Italy either. What's that?
That's my case. My percentage is down because I'm not even. I got a whole debacle of a family tree. So like,
okay,
I'm with you,
all right,
yeah.
all right. I don't know what percentage exactly I am, but it's no better than 12.5. I know that much.
I should look
That's
that
the
up.
most that it could possibly be. I say all this to say, I think the Italy story is cool, even though the team is made up of a bunch of guys like Grant and I.
But I didn't get the call. That's how I ended up here.
Yeah, they didn't. That's why you were available. Thanks. Who's managing Cervelli?
Yeah.
Thank you, Francisco. Appreciate you for not choosing Grant. I think it's a cool story. They're a lot of fun. I think it's neat. A lot of people talked about how the U.S. is the most boring team in the World Baseball Classic because everybody else is either drinking espressos in the dugout or dancing or pimping home runs, and the U.S. is just like
act like you've been there before,
just playing baseball.
Yeah.
And the World Baseball Classic of all times to maybe have a little bit more fun. Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more. Again, I say this as someone who's a 2 on the World Baseball Classic. But if I am watching, then yeah, I kind of dig the flavor that you're getting from the rest of the world and kind of wish that there was a little bit more of that from the Americans. But, win. That's the part that matters. They tried to screw it up. They tried to play themselves right out of the tournament. And thankfully, the Italians did them a huge favor. So it would kind of be fitting for it to come down to the U.S. and Italy for the championship, if that's the case. I still can't get – it ain't going to feel to me like it felt like when the U.S. won the hockey gold medals. Like, that was a thing. This is a farcical exhibition tournament. It's neat enough. And I do think it's growing, and people are starting to have memories, and I do acknowledge that. There is an amount of investment, but I still can't pretend it's something that it isn't. I still can't treat it like it's the World Cup. It's a farcical baseball tournament. You have to pull the pitchers. Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher the Americans have, and they don't have him. I can't make it something that it's not. In the context of what it is, it's neat. It's neat. Remembering that if you weren't watching this, you'd be watching spring training baseball games. It's definitely more fun than watching spring training baseball games. Look, I think the thing they're doing next weekend with the prospects, the spring breakout games, why they're not prioritizing having those on TV is very weird to me. But I think that's fun. I love just trying to mix it up. Get people a bit more invested in baseball before the season begins. Because a lot of times it's very difficult to get the average person. They're excited for opening day, for like the day and the event and the experience, but they're not really excited about the start of baseball season. And watching baseball every night that sometimes takes until the summer, right? When you're reminded it's your companion, as long as your team's good. So I think these are good things. And if we talk about them in context, I'm good with it. But it's why when you guys have been screaming about, why isn't Gunnar Henderson in the lineup? Man, I care about one thing. Is Gunnar Henderson healthy? And he appears to be not only healthy, but, swinging the bat with some confidence. So, cool. Does it guarantee he's going to be an MVP candidate this year? Not at all. But it can't hurt. And then obviously the final kind of piece from last night was the way that the game ended, with a runner on second base for the Dominican and 2 outs in the ninth. All they needed was a base hit. They would have tied the game up. And a very controversial, blown strike 3 call at the end of the game, which seems to be the reason that ABS exists. It sucks. It sucks that baseball has implemented ABS, that we've all realized how necessary it was, and yet this somehow still happens. It sucks. Now, a reminder that this has happened ungodly amounts of times in the history of baseball. Lots of games have ended on very questionable balls and strikes calls. But the idea was we're not supposed to live in a world where they won't. But don't forget, even in a real scenario, a major league game this season, if a team has already gotten 2 challenges wrong and the game ends that way, the game just ends that way. And it goes back to why so many of us are frustrated about, why don't you just prioritize getting the calls right? Why are we worried about 75 other unintended consequences and not singularly worried about doing everything in your power to get the calls right? Baseball clearly believes the technology they have in place for ABS is legitimate because they're going to use it. But yet only so legitimate because there's still scenarios. And I'm not saying it's likely, but imagine a scenario where a team challenges early in a game, gets it wrong, and then a big spot in the 8th inning they challenge because the game is really important. They get it wrong, and then in the 9th inning, they got the tying run on third base and 2 outs, and exactly what happened last night happens. They're SOL, man. This isn't like the NFL where all of a sudden somebody can buzz down like, hey, I know they don't have a challenge, but we're going to look like asses if we don't fix this. So, just go ahead and say we're going to review it. There's no savior. What happened at the end of the game in a scenario where you've used your 2 challenges just happens. And that's stupid. And I don't know why. That's a possibility. Is it likely? I don't know. I don't know how likely. I bet it happens at some point this year. I bet it occurs. But do I think it's going to happen 10 times? Not at all. And so because it's so rare, we don't prioritize it. We say okay, but what's the likelihood of it happening? It's going to happen. Probably. The priority should be getting the calls right. It's goofy that the World Baseball Classic didn't use ABS. I get the sense that might have something to do with the fact that, the games, Tokyo, they're not ready yet. Some of the non-American locations that were being used, because they're not Major League Baseball stadiums, they weren't. But Major League Baseball's at the center of the World Baseball Classic. They should have prioritized, we're going to have ABS. so that there's a lesser chance of that happening. But a reminder, that could still happen in a real game. It could. Viably could still happen that the game ends on a terrible call and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And that's bogus. It shouldn't be the case. Just do ABS. Let the machines call balls and strikes. You can still employ 4 umpires. There will still be plays at the plate. I get it. That guy will say he's bored during the course of the game. He'll live. Our priority should not be the happiness and the work output of the 4th umpire. The priority should be getting the calls right. Today's show brought to you by County Sports Zone. This past weekend was championship weekend at the high school basketball level over in Catonsville. What a weekend it was in Catonsville between UMBC and the high school title games. Just an awesome weekend. If you missed any of it, you don't know who won, how they got there, you can go find out right now by going to countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. We'll come back in and we will catch up with Dan Wilcox to take a look at what the Ravens have done and what they still need to do after the first week of free agency. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
March Mania is on at Live Casino. And you can get a front row seat for all the action at Sports and Social. Raise your game with massive wall-to-wall TVs. And raise a cheer with your favorite beers, cocktails, and an all-star menu. Best of all, you could win huge prizes every game. Don't get benched. Book your table at Live Casino. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your car is more than just a ride. It's an investment. At Leading Edge Auto Body in Mount Washington, we've spent over 20 years perfecting the art of repair. From high-end imports to your trusted daily driver, we handle all makes and models with elite precision. Our team holds the highest honors in the industry, including ASE Master, iCar Platinum, and specialized aluminum certifications. We make it easy with free towing, pickup, and delivery because at Leading Edge, customer satisfaction comes first. And remember, with insurance, it's your car and it's your choice. Choose the experts. Leading Edge Auto Body. Quality you can see. Service you can trust. Go to leadingedgeautobody.com today.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack. Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, costasin.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
This is Byron Warnken. If you've been injured in a car or truck crash, you probably know this is stressful. Medical bills, the insurance company giving you the runaround, you got to get your car fixed. You don't just need a lawyer, you need results. At Warnken LLC, we represent the injured across Maryland. Whether it's a car or truck crash case, medical malpractice, or any other serious personal injury, we fight for maximum compensation for you and maximum ease for you. You don't want to have to deal with this stuff. Warnken LLC has been voted best personal injury law firm in Maryland for a reason. For us, 443 Results isn't just a phone number, it's our mission. Get the advocate that you need. Call us today, 443 Results, or visit us online, warnkenlaw.com. That's WARNKENLAW.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Orioles ended up being rained out last night. There is apparently some, much like there is here, where hopefully it doesn't turn into, I know there's been some like tornado warnings and concerns about that type of stuff. But down in Sarasota tonight, there's also a lot of rain in the forecast, so we'll see if they end up playing this evening. But final week of spring training, this coming Sunday, the Orioles are back in Baltimore to play an exhibition against the Nationals. Then they'll play an exhibition in D.C. on Monday. And then, it's time, right? It's time. 1 week from this Thursday, opening day. And I've been telling you, be prepared, because this week we're going to be announcing details about something that we're going to be doing on opening day at Quigley's Half Irish Pub. And I've heard a couple elements of what we're going to be doing, and I am very excited about what it is that we're going to be doing. And it smells like there's a chance for you to win big just for doing something that you might be doing anyway on opening day. So I don't have all the details. But look forward to sharing more of them with you this week. Appreciate that. Yeah, our guy John Heberlin not happy about the fact that UMBC is in the playing game. I get it. I totally understand. I think it sucks. I think that the America East will be very happy if UMBC wins, because that'll make them some money. But I don't think it's fair to the players. And as Patrick pointed out, yes, I do think the people in Dayton and those that put on that event, they do an amazing job. They do an outstanding job of making that feel big. But I get it. I think they deserve the right to play or be guaranteed playing in the round of 64. All right, 1 week in the books. It was 1 week ago at this time that the tampering window opened in the NFL, and lots of crazy stuff played out for the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens? Did I say Ravens? What the hell am I doing
I heard
today?
Ravens. You're good.
Joining us now to talk about what the Ravens have done and what they still need to do, you know him as a former Baltimore Ravens tight end. You also know him from the We Bleed Purple podcast. He is our friend Dan Wilcox, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Man, I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you guys.
Always appreciate you, my dude. So let's go through what occurred, and let's just get your thoughts on it. In the end, whatever happened with Max Crosby and the physical, and I am definitely not in the camp that things insanely that the Ravens are just making something up, which is crazy to me. But however we got here, in the end, the Ravens got Trey Hendrickson and keep their first-round picks. Is that just simple swap of having Trey Hendrickson 2 first-round picks worth not having Max Crosby?
I think so. I think you get a chance to bring in 2 guys that are young, that'll be high-level picks, this year and next year. And you still get a premier defensive pass rusher, at a fraction of the price that you got the other guy for. I mean, of course, Max Crosby is an absolute game wrecker. At the same time, he's coming off a knee injury. You don't know how he's going to come back from that injury, how well he's going to be. You're gambling. It's a gamble with him. With Trey Hendrickson, you know what you're going to get. And he's healthy right now, and you got him for about $4 or $5 million cheaper than the other guy. And you was able to get your 2 picks back, your 2 first-round picks back. To me, the deal was a no-brainer. However it went about going down or happening or shaking up, I don't think it really matters to me. At the end of the day, I think Eric has a job to do. And at the end of the day, nobody wants to get fired. Everybody wants to do a very good job at their job. At the end of the day, he saved Steve Bisciotti $115 million for Max Crosby. And you don't know how good Max Crosby is going to be coming off that injury. He could have got hurt again the same year, not played the next 2-3 years. You just never know. I think he took the safe choice, which I also think was the better choice, which I also think gives him a little bit more job security. And it also puts him in a situation where you get both of your draft picks back and you don't lose those 2 draft picks. And the Ravens have never done anything like that before. So to be able to circle back, swing back, get your 2 draft picks back, and then get a Trey Hendrickson, a division rival to come over and play with you and now go against his old quarterback. You get a little insight about the Bengals, a little bit of everything to help you to get a little bit better within the division.
Dan, obviously you bring up Max Crosby, the injury. We know that Trey Hendrickson is coming off the core injury and the hip surgery that cut his season short last year. Combining that with the fact that he is 31 years old, there are some that wonder if Trey Hendrickson may be entering the downside of his career. Now, we found out some of the contract details. The Ravens actually start to have some outs after 2 years. Like, this is a 2-year deal where, like, if it's working out, then it's working out. You're going to keep going with it. If it's not, then they're probably going to go the other way. But I don't know. Edge rushers aren't running backs. We're not seeing a group of edge rushers that's just totally falling off a cliff when they get into their 30s. What do you make about where Trey Hendrickson might be at this point in his career, and how confident you are that he can be that closer the Ravens have desperately needed moving forward?
I think with him and a combination of Mentor, and Weaver being on defensive side of the ball, defensive-minded guys, I think this defense is going to be one of the hottest defenses we've seen in a long time in Baltimore. And bringing Hendrickson in, he won't have to carry the load as much as he did in Cincy because he has stars all around him. You got Nate Wiggins. I think Marlon Humphrey's coming back. You got Roquan Smith. Meta BK, I think, is coming back. When you start thinking about the guys that he's going to have around him, it takes a lot of pressure off him to have to perform at the highest level possible. But what happens to guys, Glenn, when they transfer in and they come to a new team, what happens all the time is they get a new burst of energy. You almost feel like you're getting drafted all over again, and you want to prove the city right. You want to prove the guys that took a risk and took a chance of bringing you in. You want to prove them right. You want them to know that you was the better pick over Max Crosby. So he's going to do everything he can to perform at the highest level. That also puts a bunch of pressure on you as a player to not, sit out during injuries and, rush yourself to try to get back before you should. And, so it's a lot that comes along with this job and this gig. I pray that they make the right decision. And I like the fact that they got into a much better contract situation with Trey. And like you said, in 2 years, they can opt out and they can move forward and go in another direction, and they'll still have their 2 draft picks to do that with.
That's a good point. He is Dan Wilcox. He is with us here on GCR. Dan, if we measure what the Ravens did, and it's not just Trey Hendrickson, some of the other moves they made, they did bring back Chidobe Awuzie, some others a little bit more minor, but like John Simpson comes back, and we'll take the left guard spot. When you look at where the roster is at this point, after the moves that they have made, where are you with what still needs to be done? Where do you remain the kind of glaring holes that are the difference between where they are now and where they need to be to compete to win a Super Bowl?
Well, I thought we had everything we needed last season.
That's
I hate
fair.
the fact that
a lot of us did. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I thought we had everything we needed last season to go win one. I do hate the fact that we lost Patrick Ricard and Isaiah Likely. I thought those was 2 guys that I was, hoping to really clamp down and try to keep here. I knew once we signed Mark Andrews, it meant trouble for Likely, and he would probably be out of here. But I wasn't expecting us to lose Kohler either, So we got to make some moves to bring in, guys to replace those. And then also, I think we need an elite receiver, and I still think we need another guard. I like the young kid that played a little bit last year, but for some reason they didn't play him enough. They felt like Falele was, Demery Jones. I like him a lot. So maybe you move him to right guard, and then you put Simpson at left. And then I think that kid is athletic enough to go to either side of the ball. When he came in, he showed glimpses of greatness, and I just don't understand why they didn't play him more. It was some weird stuff going on with the coaching staff last year, and I've been saying the last 2-3 years a lot of this stuff is coaching issues. It's not player issues. When the coaches are not on the same page and they're not doing their jobs as much as they should because they've gotten lazy. I think this is the type of team that coaches get lazy with. You got so much talent that a lot of times they'll bail you out when you don't coach well. So that becomes repetitive after a while, and I think that's what started to kind of happen for Harbaugh. He's been in such a great franchise so long that the players have always made his coaching staff right even when they was wrong. And I think it started to kind of wear down a little bit last year. Just the players kind of got burnt out with the whole situation. But the last 3 or 4 years, we should have had at least 2 or 3 Super Bowl wins, and we don't even have any appearances. So this year, I think if we continue to work this offseason, and I know we're going to have a great draft. We always do. Once we bring these young guys in, I think we'll have one or two of those guys. I think will surprise some people, and then we'll get some guys back that got injured last year that started playing really, really well. Like I think Harrison was one of the guys that played really well and got hurt. We lost to Darius Washington. I hate that. Him leaving out too as well. But I mean, Harbaugh ain't no fool, man. He came and got some of the best players we had on this roster and took them with him, and those guys jumped ship quick.
The Tyler Linderbaum thing, because I think Tyler Linderbaum's a damn good football player, right? Like I think
Me too, man.
It's the story of the Ravens, right? The idea is you draft a guy, he hits, you want to keep him around for forever. But ultimately, the decision to not give someone have a limit at that position anyway. The $27 million number was almost $10 million more than any other center had ever been paid. I'm all for guys getting their money. I'm happy for Tyler Linderbaum, right? Like I think that's awesome.
Me too. Yeah.
But
me
are
too.
you okay with the Ravens saying at some point, we just have to tap out? You can't put all of your investment into a center. I feel like at some point you might be the best center in football. I still don't know if you can make that level of impact on a team.
In this market, the way things work now, great players going to have to make some business decisions. And the problem with the NFL, to me, is they still go so hard on not letting guys, market themselves. And if you're not a big name, the first pick overall in the draft, you don't get endorsements the way those guys get. To me, what made Tom Brady's situation in New England so great was that we knew after he finished football, he was going to go right into television. We knew he was going to do, clothing brands and have all these other endorsement deals where he was going to make a ton of money, So it made it almost okay that he never took the big deals in New England to make sure they had money to get great players, So that's what we need. I think the Ravens need that more than anything, and I think that's the thing that frustrates me more about Lamar's situation than anything. As talented and as gifted as he is, he should be able to take a $100 million contract or $150 million contract in the NFL and be fine with that because he's making $200 million with Nike or, another, you know what I'm saying? And it offsets itself. All he has to do is do a couple of commercials a year and he's bringing in $250 million. He got his own shoe and he's making money off the shoe brand. He has, like a Jordan deal or like a Steph Curry deal or, even Anthony Edwards, in the NBA, you watching these guys just win. And the NFL don't get a lot of those endorsements because the NFL goes so hard on making sure that everybody look identical in uniforms and all that type of thing. So it's interesting to me that you can't save everybody and you can't keep everybody on this league. And you want to go draft great players. And everybody know that the Ravens draft class has always been great every single season. They got a ton of talent, even free agent talent. They do a great job in their front office. Joe Ortiz and all those guys. Joe Ortiz is gone now, but, George Kokanis and all those guys, they do a phenomenal job up top. And because they do such a phenomenal job, people cherry pick us. You look at free agency, man, I've never seen so many Ravens leave so fast. It was like, oh, my goodness. Like, every time we turned around, we lost another player within 2 or 3 days. It was like 7 to 8, 9 guys going that quick because that's how talented this team was. We were stacked. And the fact that we were stacked and Harbaugh wasn't able to pull a Super Bowl off with his stacked team where he had it is ridiculous to me.
It's weird, Dan, because I feel like most of them, either because of the Ravens' situation on their roster or, again, the amount of money they got paid, I'm good with. The only one that, really hurt me in looking at the whole of it was Keaton Mitchell, where I was just like, I don't think that's an unreasonable amount of money. I don't love the idea. Look, Derrick Henry may never be hurt in his life, right? Like, he's just an alien. He's a freak. But in a scenario where he is, I don't love Justice Hill featured back. I think what Justice Hill does is a blocker, and I think he does good things. That's the one of this group that I just sort of look at and say, boy, why didn't that one work out? Because that one feels like one that I can't fully wrap my head around or make sense of.
The only thing I can think of, G, is honestly he's undersized. The Ali kid does a great job in the backfield blocking on pass plays and stuff like that, so maybe they felt like he was more valuable because of it. When you put Keaton in, he's kind of one-dimensional. He's an inside runner, outside runner. He runs the ball hard, but he's not able to block those bigger guys because he's a smaller guy, smaller back. So those longer, rangier guys will be able to just kind of reach over them or reach around them, be able to get to the quarterback. And Ali is able to stick his face in there, and just seems like he just don't care. He's just a stronger kid, I guess. I'm not sure, but that's the only thing I can think of. But that hurt me as well. I just felt like it wasn't a lot of money that he got from the Chargers, and he should have been a guy that we should have been able to keep. I love him and Derrick Henry back there. I do like Justice Hill as well. He's coming off an injury. Don't know how well he's going to be coming back. And Keaton, to me, seemed like the guy to keep. But when you just restructured or just re-signed Justice Hill last year, you know, they kind of put you in a bind. You know, this Keaton situation was kind of like Isaiah Likely's situation. You know, you had another really good back that's been here for a while. He's also fast and shifty. He's not as explosive as Keaton, but he's an explosive back, you know, when he's healthy and he's doing well. So, you know, Keaton hurt me too, man. You know, he's family to me. Like, he's from Atlanta. You know, his dad is a former Raven. You know, to me, he's a guy that you don't let go. You know, you keep him. He's part of the lineage.
I really would have liked that, but I don't know. Maybe they find their next Keaton Mitchell, right? Like maybe there's a late round pick, somebody like that, that's going to be a difference maker. Dan, you brought up the tight end. You brought up Isaiah Likely, and again, I think we all know what happened there. Are you confident that Mark Andrews, the lack of production a year ago, isn't again the sign that he's on the downside of his career? That's just a 1-year thing, and that he still has high-level production in him for the coming years?
No, I didn't agree with the Mark Andrews deal. I think that was a thank you deal. You know, thank you for all the great shit that you've done in the past, and you've been amazing here in the city of Baltimore. You're the all-time receiving leader and touchdown leader, and yards. You know, all the things.
Oh, I think we lost Dan. All right, we'll see if we can't get Dan Wilcox back. We'll just check, and then if we can, we'll wrap up with him. If not, we will. All good. Life will go on. Go ahead, hit mute on the phone channel real quick. Phone pot. Thank you, Grant. And then, just go ahead and maybe try to give him a buzz back and see if we can't reconnect with Dan, and we'll wrap up the segment if that's possible. If not, then all good, man. These things happen. Technology is what it is. Look at that. Look at that. We'll try to wind things down. The Keaton Mitchell wasn't the one. But as you're talking about Dan Wilcox back with us now on GCR, it's interesting that thank you deal concept, right? That's something the Ravens, they always talk about, like, we're going to pay somebody for what they do in the future, not what they've done in the past. And it's an interesting theory, Dan.
That's how I felt about it. I mean, Mark has been such a phenomenal player here. You know, I honestly didn't think he was going to outlast the Hayden Hurst kid. You know, I was wrong. I was wrong about that. But, when I look at Mark, I think he's such a dynamic, great tight end. You know, he's an all-around player. And he's the guy that's polished. He's kind of like a Tim Duncan type, where he's just polished all around. But I just felt like Isaiah Likely was the future of the Ravens and probably the future of the NFL. Like, he's a young, explosive tight end. I think he's one that's going to come back to bite us in the ass long term. You know, I honestly feel like Mark Andrews' deal was them just thanking him for being such a phenomenal player, leading the Ravens in almost every category, receiving, yards, touchdowns, receptions, everything. And they just like, well, we're going to hold on to him because he needs to retire a Raven. You know, I think they could have figured out a better way to make him retire a Raven and give him $40 million, and then let Isaiah Likely slip through our fingers. I would have had that conversation that we want to keep you two together, for the longevity of Mark's career, that Isaiah would be his wingman or be his number two or be Batman and Superman side by side,
We know they brought in, obviously, Durham Smythe to replace Charlie Kohler as their blocking tight end, but it sounds like you'd be looking for, like, an athletic, dynamic type of tight end in the draft. Oh, Joker. Yeah, he's still available.
Yeah. I would have took him hands down. As soon as Isaiah was gone, I would have been shooting at Njoku. Shooting at him right away. I would have beat the crap out of the Cleveland Browns with their own guys. They're one of the laughing stocks of the NFL right now as far as organizations. They just haven't done a phenomenal job in a long time, as far as taking care of their players and doing right. Then the Myles Garrett deal was probably the most ridiculous deal you've ever seen for a defensive end. And then Myles Garrett go have the year that he have, and they make Cleveland look like they're smarter than what they really are. So I don't know, man. I would go get David Njoku in a heartbeat. I think that would be the ultimate thing that would shut everybody up.
You would
about
think,
the Isaiah Likely.
You would think. I mean, I saw what the price was for Dallas Goedert at this point. You'd think the price would be fairly low for Njoku because obviously he was coming off a down season, to your point, where he didn't really have a quarterback to throw him the ball in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one and something I think I'd be in favor of. All right, Dan.
I mean, I don't know how you can lowball Njoku because Isaiah Likely just got 40 on a down year too.
That's true. I mean, I guess because he's a little bit younger, you're still betting on like he hasn't gotten there. But I hear you. I hear you, man. I don't. What did Dallas Goedert just get? I saw it. I was like, wow, is he just done? Like, what is going on? Hang on a second.
What did he get for real? I didn't see it. What did he get?
The Eagles gave him 1 year and $7 million for Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, that smells to me like David Njoku probably should be available for a pretty favorable number.
I'm with you. We should shoot our shots.
Dan Wilcox, you want to plug the podcast?
We Bleed Purple podcast. We'll be shooting an episode this week at some point, and just join whenever you want to. Go to YouTube, like, subscribe, and join We Bleed Purple podcast. It's Daniel Wilcox and Matt Trigger, and we do a phenomenal job just breaking down all things Ravens.
Always appreciate you, brother. It's great to hear your voice. Let's talk again real soon, all right?
You too, G. Thanks for the invite.
Always appreciate you. Dan Wilcox, former Ravens tight end, with us here on GCR. A few folks have gotten in the comments to Finn. I love Kenyon Sadiq. Now, it's funny because Kenyon Sadiq was not nearly as productive as you would expect someone with his sort of freakish athleticism to be. And watching him at the Combine, you start finding yourself saying, maybe I'd think about Kenyon Sadiq at 14. And then I run that through folks around the NFL, and they say, no, that's not where you take Kenyon Sadiq. But, I mean, he's definitely the top guy. And if you're looking for that next dynamic, tight end to pair with Mark Andrews moving forward, that's the type of player you're looking for. Now, there are others. And the Ravens do have a history of finding dynamic tight ends outside of the first round of the draft. Their first-round history is a smash hit in Todd Heap and a half a whiff in Hayden Hurst. They've found plenty of tight ends as the draft has gone on. To Mark, Keaton Mitchell is a non-factor. People need to put their fandom aside for a one-dimensional player that cannot run or pass block. I don't know what you think you're saying, Mark. When you say he cannot run, if you mean by that he's not a physical runner, he's not a between the tackles runner, like, yeah, he's I don't even know that one-dimensional is wrong, but you're not signing him to be your featured back. You're signing him to the point be your number 3 back. You've got your featured back. You've got your pass-blocking back. And now it's adding in a change of pace and a guy that, after these dudes have been out there hitting for a little while, now they got to chase down somebody who's running at 22 miles an hour to the edge. And I don't think that Keaton Mitchell will be a star. I don't think that's who he is. But his role was a good one, and I'm just a little bit surprised, given what the number was, that wasn't something the Ravens would do. And I get the argument of, hey, this is the way that it works when you're trying to budget a roster, and sometimes you have to make those types of choices. And again, almost all of them I can say I get. I do. The Pat Ricard one hurts. As everybody knows, Pat Ricard was one of my favorite Baltimore Ravens and was a regular with us for years. It hurts me. But I understand the Pat Ricard one because Declan Doyle has just said we're not really going to be doing fullbacks. That's not going to be our thing. Well, if that's the case, then you're probably not going to pay a fullback. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. It's a bummer. It's a massive bummer. I think Pat Ricard has probably done enough to still be in consideration for the Ring of Honor. But, that's the type of career he was having, and so it's a bummer. But I get it. I can make sense of that. I can't with Keaton Mitchell. And just saying things like, well, he'd be a 4th-string running back. Why would he be behind Rasheen Ali? That doesn't make sense. And running back isn't college where you're putting together a depth chart. They all have roles. They all have things they do. They're not string. They're There's roles. This is the back that does this. This is the back that does this. There are some places where they utilize 2 backs primarily. Obviously, in Baltimore, they use 1. But the idea that this is the one until he goes down and then we turn to the that's not a thing. That's high school football. That's not what you do at the NFL. So I got nothing for you. There is no such thing as 4th or 3rd string. It's just what is your role? When do we turn to you? And Keaton Mitchell for the Ravens was their change of pace back. He didn't at the start of the season, and we got a lot of questions about that in hindsight. I know a lot of it was made around injury, but by the time he got out there, you were reminded of exactly why he was that guy. I'm trying to go to Ian. Ian says, fullbacks are hard to value. Shame for Ricard, but it's just such a niche position. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And if look, the answer is Declan Doyle's your offensive coordinator. If Declan Doyle's offense isn't going to be a fullback offense, then that's that. That's the end of it. And it really just does come down to that. You don't say to Declan Doyle, you base your offense around what we give you. You hire an offensive coordinator, and then he tells you what your offense is going to look like. And if it's not going to involve a fullback, then that's that. That's that. From Jimmy, thoughts on the replaceability of Charlie Kohler's elite blocking ability? Well, they think they've got that guy in Durham Smythe. They think they have that guy. And obviously, someone who knows Declan Doyle's system very well. I'm not going to pretend like I can give you a full breakdown of... I mean, Charlie Kohler was a hell of a blocker. You're right, a damn good blocker. But the belief is they've got that guy in Durham Smythe. And, yeah, I am with you, Ian. I don't know if thank you deals win Super Bowls. I'm not as convinced as Dan is that this is a thank you deal. That's really unlike the Ravens to do something like that. So I'm not willing to go there. I get what he's saying. I do. You can question the wisdom of the deal, and we might very well question the wisdom of it a year from now. I think they're banking on Mark Andrews being better next year than he was this year. And again, the same thing, this notion that one down year combined with not being 26 anymore means someone is done is a fallacy. Now, Mark Andrews has other problems. Mark Andrews obviously has not been great in the postseason, and I'll never understand what he was doing throwing the ball across the field last year. I'll never in my life make sense of that. But I am not inclined to believe that that is a thank you deal. The Ravens don't do that. They just don't do, we'll pay you because you were good in the past. To their guys. I mean, I guess somebody could say that's what Earl Thomas ended up being. It's a guy that was just good in the past. But they don't do that with their guys. They don't say, hey, thank you for being good in the past. Here's some more money. We'll find out. We'll find out if they made that right decision on Mark Andrews. All right, Grant, did you do a tidbit for today?
Sure did.
All right, tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of PressBox, which is available for free at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Wherever you find PressBox around town, you can read it for free at PressBoxOnline.com. There's Cal Ripken, great cover story from Dave Ginsburg, all about the Iron Man at 65 and the role he's now playing in the Orioles ownership group. So go pick that up today, again, at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. What you got?
Well, first, I'm a big fan of the Orioles Hall of Fame selection this year. We got Chris Davis going in.
By the way, I believe Storm Davis is joining us tomorrow, I want to say. I want to double check on that. We're going to have a busy day tomorrow. But I know Storm Davis is joining us. Of course, the World Series 83 hero and going into the Orioles Hall of Fame. The Chris Davis one, we didn't really have a lot of time to talk about it last week because, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson sort of sucked all the air out of the room. But I saw a lot of negativity online about the Chris Davis thing.
So did I.
It's a bummer because there are two very different Chris Davis stories. And the bummer is that neither one does outweigh the other. You don't just get to say Chris Davis hit a crap ton of home runs for teams that were fun so we can completely forget about how things went from there. And in the same way, you don't just get to say, hey, the Chris Davis contract proved to be one of the worst ever given out. Like, it doesn't matter that he was neither one of those stories outweighs the other just because that's what your opinion is. The Orioles are recognizing players that were significant for some really good and really fun baseball teams from 2012 to 2016 and celebrating that era of Orioles baseball. And undoubtedly, Chris Davis was a massive part of that. What happened sucks. It sucks. The contract isn't Chris Davis's fault specifically. The Orioles gave it to him. What's he going to do? Say no? I think I might be bad next year, so I'd rather not have your money? It sucks the way that it worked out. It sucks how ugly it got at the end. It sucks, and I said it then, when Chris Davis was suggesting that he was some sort of like martyr for his religion by staying in the lineup every day and showing like what he was going through. I didn't want to hear any of that. All of it sucked. I recognize why the Orioles are honoring Chris Davis in their Hall of Fame. I completely get it. I have a lot of really pleasant Chris Davis memories, man. The opening day home run that he hit, what year was that? Was it 12 or 13? 13? It wasn't 12. 13?
The Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Are you winning games like that without his clutch?
I remember that well, and I got a lot of positive Chris Davis memories. So I get it. It is one of the probably the most complicated induction to the Orioles Hall of Fame there ever will be Chris Davis. Because it is at the highest of his highs, very deserving. At the lowest of his lows, part of the problem.
Throw in the community work, too.
Yeah, very involved. A lot of people know how involved I am with Helping Up Mission, and Chris Davis in particular was extraordinarily involved with Helping Up Mission, and a big part of that. It's very complicated.
Yep.
But whatever you think the story is that matters, because it's the one that you've chosen as your side of the equation, it does not outweigh the other side of the story that exists too. I hope when we get to the summer and Chris Davis is introduced before the game, I think it's in August.
August 1st.
I hope that it's just a nice hand, and for that day, at least, we're able to say, hey, appreciate the memories, and we can put the other stuff to the side for that day. I hope that's the case.
Yeah, so do I.
What you got?
Well, Chris is part of my tidbit, so we know that 53 home runs in 2013 is the franchise record for a single season.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the 9 guys, so we're going through the top 10, the 9 guys behind him that are in the Orioles all-time single-season home runs list?
Hang on. I don't know. This is so fun. Ian said, any positive feelings or Aaron Hicks? Aaron Hicks was weirdly fun when he was a Baltimore Oriole.
Awesome. Yeah,
like
that was
weirdly fun during his brief stint with the Orioles. It's one of those ones that like history will have forgotten that Aaron Hicks was ever a Baltimore Oriole, but for that fleeting moment, man, like he was a really weirdly fun player and was very helpful for a very good baseball team. But that's it. Like it's a historical footnote. It's all it is. But yeah, weirdly fun player. I will always have some positive vibes around Aaron Hicks. And the role that he had for the 2023 Orioles.
The diehards will remember.
Yeah. I mean, that was a good team. We should remember. All right. Obviously, Brady Anderson was next.
In 96.
How many did you say I needed to get? How many How many total? I'm doing the top. What?
Top 10.
Top 10.
Top 10.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Twice. He had 43 in 98 and 2 times he had 39 in 95 and 96.
How about...
He's a frequent visitor on that list.
Boog Powell.
Boog is tied with Raphael with 39. There's 4 people with 39 home runs. I don't know if you count the other one because that's 1922, and that's
not a
St. Louis
Baltimore.
Browns.
That's a St. Louis Browns.
So
Does not count.
Yep. So we'll end that list there at 39 in 1964.
So that means
That's
that anybody
Boog.
that had 40 or more is on the list.
Yep.
So Santander.
44 and 24.
And Nelson Cruz.
24. Another fun year. 2014. 40.
So I've got Brady, Palmeiro, Boog, Santander, Cruz. How many other players am I missing?
I'd give you 3. Yeah, 3.
3 more.
Chris is on this list again, by the way.
So I'm saying specifically different players. How many players have I not named?
You haven't named 3.
I haven't named 3.
Yeah, 3.
Oh, because I haven't said Frank Robinson yet.
Yep. 49 and 66.
I'm missing 2 more. 2 more.
These may surprise you. Kind of, maybe.
May surprise me.
One was recent. The other was very long time ago.
One was recent. The other was a very long time ago. One was recent. The other was a very long. Jim Gentile.
Was 1961
Yeah.
and 40. That's the one I thought you were going to get tripped up on.
He comes up a lot on these lists.
Very deeply rooted. The last one I think the last one may get you. Maybe.
Was it Mark Reynolds?
We got the first name right, so now I kind of just gave. I hope.
Oh, Mark Trumbo. Yeah. Damn. I did forget that Mark Trumbo hit 40. He hit 40 home runs, really?
47 in 2016.
Holy crap! He hit 47 home runs in 2016,
which led to that 3-year deal he got.
I really have completely wormholed that. I don't remember that at all.
All we did that year was hit home runs.
Yeah, I just don't remember it was 47. 47 is an astonishing number. I don't remember that it was 47 home runs.
I knew he was gonna hit home runs that year. I was not thinking 47.
God damn. Yeah, but don't pie him in the face. Whatever you do, do not pie that man in the face. He's not having it.
Reynolds is a little bit deeper on the list, though. He had the 37 in 2011, so he's tied with 6 other names.
Damn. All right, good list. Thank you, buddy. Let's get Tubular for the evening. Tubular is brought to you today by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour, which is back starting today. Stan the Fan, when he does shows, they are presented by the Costas Inn with 2 great locations. The OG in Dundalk on North Point Boulevard, and the new one, which is open in the Grandstand in Timonium, and has everything you love about the original location, just not steamed crabs. That's it. You got to go to Dundalk in order to get steamed crabs. But everything else that you love about the Costas Inn, you can find in Timonium at the Grandstand. Stan, tonight, 5 o'clock, we'll be chatting with Orioles Chief Revenue Officer Don Rovac. And you can watch that live, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Here's what else is coming up tubular-wise this evening. The Orioles are scheduled to play the Red Sox at 6:05. If they do, Kyle Bradish and Sonny Gray, the pitching matchup. Weather in the forecast down in Sarasota, so we will see if it happens. They had been pretty lucky weather-wise in Florida up until this weekend.
Until yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get to play. Oh, nope, sorry, that has already been canceled. My apologies. Strike it from the list.
Respect too soon.
No Orioles game tonight. My sincerest apologies.
I guess Griffin didn't do his rain dance.
Instead, you can be completely distraction-free as you watch Italy and Venezuela tonight at 8 o'clock in the other World Baseball Classic semifinal on Fox Sports 1. And Viva Italia is what Grant says. Forza Azzurri tonight in the World Baseball Classic semifinals.
You already know more than I do, so.
My family's Italian. You know that. Everything else, you can go to glennclarkradio.com and find it there. The Warriors are in D.C. tonight, but I don't think Steph Curry's playing, so it's not really worth the trip. Everything else, just stay safe with all the storms in the forecast, and if there is legitimate tornado warnings, then take shelter, be safe throughout the course of today and tonight. Very good. Thank you. Thanks today to Dan Wilcox. Thanks also to Patrick Stevens. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the...
So good, hon. There's a new line. I can't remember what it is.
It's actually, I'll tell you more about it later. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, busy day. Scheduled to be joined by, I believe, Storm Davis, new Orioles Hall of Famer, is going to join us. Brenda Fries, Maryland women's basketball coach, is going to join us, talk about getting back into the NCAA Tournament this year. They're going to be on the road. They play Murray State in the first round. And Jude Bowery, Boston College offensive lineman, NFL draft prospect, and Baltimore native will be checking in with us as well. All that coming up on the program tomorrow. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, the Costas Inn, your Baltimore area High's Dairy Stores, Leading Edge Auto Body, Warnken Law, 1-800-GAMBLER, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Quigley's Half Irish Pub, CountySports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin, sure. Thanks to Grant. Remind me where we're following you.
Just find me on Instagram. I'm at 20G DeVivo.
Give him a follow there. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Italy. Duke sucks.